Hmm.
If it's ragweed, then I would put that definitely expensive. Because it's doing its thing, like it's supposed to. And please, yeah, look, triangle. Please don't cause a scene. Okay. See, this is important. But, well, no, today is Monday. Sorry. I like the glare today. It's a classy touch. Well, it's sponsored by Glare. Of course it is. Presented by, excuse me. I think it's our turn to swing to. Usually juniper also gets me. I mean, the juniper should be very nice for flowers. They smell so good though. I'm so sorry. You're a trash person. Do you want I've got alcohol one? Not tapping stone, it's missing.
But she said she's home, so that's good.
I know you just so much. Because it just it's like I have no idea. I also don't understand this. So I'm on like CRC page.
Mm-hmm.
Go to my pages. It doesn't show my like so it has my notifications and stuff here. It doesn't show on here.
Because you're on it?
That's
What happens if you go to Transportation Symposium and did something?
no, this shows me the old. It's like there's two different formats of pages. You see, like this pops up, and I can see like my notifications and stuff. But yeah, you know,
That's weird.
my mom follows me on Facebook now. I'm sorry, everybody.
Don't.
She will be liking every photo.
And, who's down the corner?
Oh, there. Where's the other one? She just turned on.
Oh.
Yeah, like literally just turned.
Welcome everyone to the Citizens Advisory Committee of the Florida Alabama TPO. Really happy to have you all here today. We don't have a big crowd, but we have a lot of things to discuss, so appreciate you being here today. Our Oh, that's right. Making sure the recording is on. Since our Citizens Advisory Committee is not extremely large right now, I will call this a quorum with our 3 members that are here because we have 8 in total. And hopefully we'll be able to grow that over the coming months to get some more people involved. But with that, notice of the quorum, the first item that we would have would be the approval of the agenda. It would take 2/3 of the TPO of our members present to change it, but were there any questions or proposed additions to the agenda today? If not, I can entertain a motion just to approve it. Okay, we have that motion by Tim. Second? We have a second by Mark. Without any objection, that is approved. Okay, for the public forum today, don't seem to have any guests present today, but we may have some watching online, or we always welcome folks also to call in and listen. Community members participating via phone will be muted during the meeting and are only able to listen, but we surely welcome the comments that can be provided if you're online in the chat box, digital comment form, by email, or by calling the Regional Planning Council. So please do so if you want to provide any input whatsoever on any of these items that we discussed today. So we'll move right into our FDOT and ALDOT, your ECRC update, starting with FDOT and Christy. Welcome, Christy.
Good evening. Number 2 on the next page of the agenda, the strategic intermodal system, and I believe at your places you have one of the handouts. This is the policy update, plan update. Every 5 years the plan is updated. As you know, this is our largest funding source. And the good news for this district is that they're adding the rural mobility and connectivity focus in this update. What they're asking is that you please review and comment, but I didn't see anything other than the website in the red at the bottom for updates. Maybe we can come back in December and provide more information. The draft plan is supposed to be posted at that time for public comment, so that will be relevant. The next update, like I said, is in 5 years. This is really a 5-year plan with what we call like a fuzzy 5 for a 10-year plan, and fuzzy in that when you get beyond the 5 years and the SIS plan, it's really hard to, you have projects, but you don't know if you're going to have the money when that 5 year comes. But it just kind of gives you an overview you can look at for that 10 years. And you may know we have Interstate 10, 110, 29, 98 was just added a couple of years ago. The southern portion of 87 between 98 and 10 is on the SIS. And the Blue Angel to 10 is a military access facility. And there's some potential to get funding for those military access ways. And I'll take any questions that you may have. It is not currently part of the SIS. I know there have been some efforts by Santa Rosa County in the past to get Widening Field as a military access point, but there's something about the number of flights, the landings and takeoffs, that it hasn't yet been added to the SIS plan.
So it has a certain requirement? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Any other questions about the SIS? All right, thank you, Christy. Anything else for us today? Okay. For the ALDOT, Vince.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of projects to go over for everybody. Our State Route 180 widening project in Orange Beach from the Beach Express down to 181 is basically complete. We're in the remainder punch list items with that. So you'll see some striping and cleanup work going on. And definitely, if y'all see anything that have any comments about, let me know. We can get that to our construction guys and contractor and get that stuff cleaned up before it's all said and done. So that project's coming along. Moving into our pre-construction side of things, our design side, we have our waterways projects, and those are two projects. One is a bridge over the Intercoastal Canal, and then moving north is the second part from County Road 4 up to the Foley Beach Express. Right now, the bridge project is currently set for December letting, and we'll see how that goes. And then we've got a couple of other items that will come up on further on the agenda. Our RTOP program, Regional Traffic Operations Program. I'll talk about that in conjunction with a couple of projects, and also a US 98 resurfacing project through Alberta down to the Pensacola Bay Bridge. But we'll get into those in a little bit on the agenda items to adjust it to.
Okay.
Thanks.
Questions for Vince? All right, appreciate it. One thing I failed to ask, I just wanted to, Christy, this is pertaining to Interstate Signs, because I know there's tremendous pressure when we have hurricanes, tropical storms, with signs in general. But some of those, like there's one at Davis Highway and Interstate 10 that's been wrapped up for quite some time, and I wondered is there a new criteria that's being looked at for those signs, or how often do you have to look at that with sort of the wind strength of these? Because I know it's extremely difficult with the number of storms that we've had over the last 10 years. Mm.
I'll find out about that. They should be just replacing them. I'm one of them when they had one was a replacement, but the Davis Highway.
It's right. It's Davis Highway going when you're coming from Santa Rosa County, the exit there to Davis, North Davis Highway. All right, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. We have both our approval of the June 2021 meeting minutes, and then all committees have consideration of resolution Florida Alabama 2125 authorizing the TPO chairman to sign the Alabama Department of Transportation's performance measures agreement for TPOs. So with your approval of those, if you've had a chance to review both of them, we could move forward to the action items. Okay, we have a motion in a second. All right. Hearing no objections, that's approved. Thank you. So our first action item today was in enclosure A in the packet. It's consideration of Resolution Florida Alabama 2124 on the Transportation Improvement Program to add a construction phase for SR 42 US 98 from 0.25 miles west of Alberta city limits to the middle of the Pensacola Bay Bridge resurfacing project. And Gary? Okay, Vince.
Yeah.
Okay, great, Vince.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is basically our 98 resurfacing project I mentioned, and it is our basic mill and fill, part of our resurfacing program every year. We come through, rate the pavement, look at and see where our priorities are needed. We'll basically take off an inch and a half of asphalt and then fill it back up, This project's about 11.5 miles, 3.2 million, 80% federal, 20% state dollar. And we're hoping to get it into a letting phase in early December here. So one of our more straightforward projects. And with that, I'll just request a motion to approve the resolution to amend the TIP.
Okay, we have a motion by Mark, second by Tim. Any other discussion on that? Any questions?
Just a timeline, if you will. I'm in the Lillian area, so
Yes,
curious.
sir.
December starting.
Yes, sir. Actually, what we'll do is we'll get plans together in our office in the next couple of months. We'll get to a bidding and letting phase in December, early December and that's right now it's set for December 3rd. And then usually it takes about a month and a half, 2 months before you actually see some construction equipment going out there and some signs up and that sort of thing. But then it should be a pretty, we don't set the construction timeline on them until we know a little bit further, what we, got ahead of us. But we're going to have plans and things like that just in case there's any challenges. But I can't imagine this one taking any more than 3 months, 4 months for complete job. And it'll feel a little bit faster than that just because you'll be able to, put down the asphalt and mill it and fill it is basically what we call it.
I would be curious about traffic flow is increased on 98, particularly in that section, and just over the past couple of years. How do they? I don't know. Will things be happening in the evening? I assume it's all going to be daytime activity. Just curious because the numbers have significantly gone up.
Yes,
I know you're not telling you something you don't know, but
no, thank you. It's a good point, and actually, like that's the kind of comments that we do need to take back because we do look at that and we consider projects, to do them at night, and based on the traffic counts and things like that. So that's definitely something that we will look at. It does increase our cost on a project and the time. You talk to all the contractors, and they'll just tell you it's just harder at night. You can't see. So I don't think that. I mean, just in my experience, I don't feel like that project's going to necessarily warrant that nighttime operation. But we will definitely take a look at it and make note, and we'll definitely update you at the next meeting as well. So just remind me. So.
Well, hearing no objections, it's approved. Thank you. Next item, OUB, is consideration of a resolution amending the Transportation Improvement Program. Sorry about that. Adding the Regional Traffic Operations Program projects for signal management and upgrades on all state routes in the southwest region of Alabama for comprehensive project management system numbers. The total cost is identified, and the total cost is $1,600,000. So who's going to present?
I'll present that one as well. Thanks. So this is actually a program that the state has started, and it's really fairly new, but what we've been able to do is secure some funding just throughout the state for improving our signals and intersections and things like that. But basically, we've got 3 projects inside of this one, all for different time frames in future years type thing. But what we've also done with this agenda item is actually included the CRRSAA stimulus funds. That was about $61,000 worth of extra funds that we wanted to throw into the TPO's area signals. And I've got a list of those signals. Most of them are on 180. One of them is up there at 98 and 99, in the Lillian community there. So, but basically what the entire program does, and like y'all know, this process sets up that funding so we can spend it, and get comments. But basically what that project is going to do for us is let us go into each one of those intersections, install new hardware, software, cameras. It's really cool stuff. I mean, I've been able to play with it myself a little bit, and actually, go into a signal on a computer. We can be in Mobile's office and look at a signal, see what's going on an intersection, and then start adjusting the signal timing if we're having bad delays or we have an accident or whatever's going on. Really helps improve our efficiency and operation of the roadways. And it's really just honestly the way that we don't have a lot of money for a capacity project, so we've got to increase our, operation and efficiency on the routes that we do have. So getting those signals talking to each other, that sort of thing. A lot of technology in it, a lot of, just information and software that goes into it. And I don't understand it all. I've been lucky to kind of see a good bit of it. But really, really good program for us. And so, that program, like I said, has got 3 projects underneath it. And the motion, the request here is just to approve the motion to approve that program and those 3 projects with the stimulus money that the TPO has for here.
Okay. Any questions pertaining to that?
I did have a question. Is that where all the technology is going now then, where it used to be just like a pressure sensor or whatever at a light? Now it's just cameras?
Yeah, so and that component of the intersections and signals is the detection phase. If you go to a very old intersection, they'll just be on timers. Those it'll go red, yellow, green based on a certain time. There's no detection. Then they went to basically cutting in and putting a wire inside of the asphalt, and that just created a magnetic field. It's called loop wire. And as a vehicle rolled up to it, it would make a magnetic field, send a message to the box, to the controller, say, hey, there's a car here. Okay, let's switch it to green type thing, switch to red, whatever we need to do based on that, where the location of those wires were. Yes, now they've gone to cameras, that was, they've actually, and an even higher form of that is radar. You can put radar on, some poles and stuff. So when we can get radar, that's actually, a really good option for us. For some reason, the cameras are good. The cameras are a good step, but it seems like if we can get radar, that we're having better success with that. So just a little bit I know about it. That's all the detection methods and the progression of that.
So it can adjust as it sees how much traffic is on one.
That's correct.
Crossroad and adjust the timing.
Yes, sir. That's correct. I mean, whether you've got a camera or loop wire or radar, it's able to detect that cue, that stacking length, and say, hey, you know what? You've got a weight over here. We need to clear this. We need to open this corridor open. But also, what that's doing is it's talking with the next signal down, so that if you can get a platoon of vehicles flowing through the entire corridor, that's optimal. It can be difficult to do depending on turnouts and how people are, but that's a optimal, idea and what we try to play with inside of the software to get that to happen, the timing and everything.
Not getting a green to a red light.
Well, half of that platoon to go through, and the other half have to stop, and all that. So it's neat stuff. You just it takes some real getting into, but it's neat for some nerd engineers like myself.
And where else in Alabama is it started being used?
Right. So we're fortunate that we started this program, and actually in the Mobile area, we've seen some success with it. Just putting it down on US 98 Government Street, kind of that corridor going into downtown Mobile, Central Business District. So that's one area that we've seen a lot of improvement on it. We've actually over on 59, we've done some of those signals, and going through Foley area and gotten some of those talking and working with each other. So it's coming along. And then we can kind of put them out in other spots. Mostly right now, it's mostly Mobile and Baldwin counties, just because that's where your number of signals are. I think we've got around 140 signals just in the kind of a metropolitan area there. So, but just like this area, Orange Beach, we've got a good bit. There's probably 7 or 8 on 180, down at the beach, and 161, that we're looking at using these funds, the stimulus money with, to improve those signals, get all those helping talking with each other. So that's the effort.
So you've seen a marked difference in the downtown Mobile and the Foley in the areas where you have implemented this?
Right. It's hard to see just from a general, most people aren't driving their corridors all the time and timing themselves, so it can be difficult for the general public to see. But what we're watching, what we're seeing, we've got some really good benefits with it time wise. More honestly, one of the better things that we've been able to do is when there is an accident somewhere, we can what we'll call flush another route. Instead of having everybody diverting over and detouring to one route and that route getting, log jam, we can go in there with the timing and open up those signals and let that route flush free, right? So those kind of benefits, are hard to measure. That's the effort. It's cool to see for our area coming in.
It's exciting, like you said, when you have limited funds for doing all the capacity things that you want to. You have to be smart, use funds. So
Yes, sir.
if this can make some improvements, it's really good to see. So we just need a motion for approval of this. Motion by Tim, and second by Mark. Any other discussion or questions? Without any objection, this motion is passed. Thank you. And welcome, Michael. Glad you're here. Next item is enclosure C. It's consideration of resolution pertaining to the Transportation Improvement Program, adding a construction phase for the Escambia County Ferry Landing at Whitewater Beach. Christy?
This particular project was awarded the Eastern Federal Lands Grant by Federal Highway, and the improvements include widening the existing walking surface, safety upgrades, additional lighting, and construction of a shade area. And it's a LAP agreement with Escambia County, and we need to add it to the TIP.
Okay, so this would just do that to make all of those improvements. Just needs to be added to the tip. Any questions? If not, I entertain a motion for approval of this. A motion for approval by Mark. Second by Tim. Any questions, discussion on it? Without objection then, it is approved. Okay, the next item would be enclosure D, and that's a resolution also amending the TIP, adding the design phase for State Road 8, I-10, and Pine Forest Road interchange, some improvements there. Christy?
And this is design of a quick fix project until 110 can be widened, and it's in the current year.
Okay. So another tip change. Any questions for Christy on that? Not entertain a motion for approval. Okay, motion by Mark. Okay, second by Michael. Any other discussion? Okay, with no objection then, that's passed. Okay, enclosure E is also resolution amending the TIP, and it's adding the construction phase for I-10 Escambia County Welcome Center resurfacing project. Christy?
And this is the Welcome Center ramps and also adding some wildlife fencing there. This project was out for bid last year, and the bids were too high, so the project was carried over to this fiscal year and needs to be added to the TIP into this fiscal year.
So is the wildlife fencing just the fencing that you see along Interstate 10?
Yes, for the deer.
Right. Any other questions for Christy on this? Not to entertain a motion to approve this TIP amendment. Motion by Mark, second by Tim. Any other discussion, questions? Without objection, and this is approved. Okay, enclosure F is consideration of resolution pertaining to FDOT's fiscal years 2023-2027 tentative work program. Who's going to, Christie?
Should have in your tables the new report format for the citizen plan and DOT. The first few projects of both counties, Escambia and Santa Rosa, are the airport projects. I'm just going to talk about the new projects that were added to the program. There's not a lot of capacity projects added after the funding to maintain the existing system. There are 7 new resurfacing projects in Escambia County. There's also $3 million added to the ITS effort. Vince talked a lot about that with the timing and the smart technology and the lights talking together. That's $3 million, and FDOT will continue to work with the TPO in the future of the system. Also in Escambia County, the addition of the off-system bridge replacement project, Gotti Lane, the construction was added to the 5th year of the program in 2027. Also added in Escambia County was a sidewalk project at Legion Park in the Global Learning Academy, and that's a LAC with Pensacola through the TAP program. In Santa Rosa County, there are 3 new resurfacing projects in the county, and I will talk about any individual project
Are there
if anyone has questions.
lots of good projects in here? Are there questions about them? Good. Mark, did you have one?
No.
Really to ALDOT and FDOT and the Regional Planning Council, I thank you for the effort into putting all of these plans together. I know it takes a tremendous amount of work, and I've seen in all of my years here involved with the Citizens Advisory Committee, seen so many good projects implemented. You know, sometimes lots of discussions centered around them, but really some great progress, like Vince was talking about, this new system that helps us even make better use of limited funds in my mind. But things like complete streets and some of the things we're looking at right now with road diets and traffic calming in some of the communities, and multimodal emphasis of really moving everyone safely. So I commend you all on that, because I've seen lots of really good things. I do have a struggle with one of the projects in here, so I'm not going to be able to support it myself because of that, and that's the Highway 90 project through downtown. The city continues to not support the 4 to 5 lane through the downtown district because of the what they consider to be very damaging impacts to downtown Milton, and other alternatives being available that would not do that. So I would liken it to some of the projects that we've looked at, like the Pensacola Bay Bridge, which when it was first laid out was not exactly what the community wanted, and everybody came to the table, and FDOT, and the project ended up being one that I would look at and say, oh my goodness, this is such a better project with the flyover and the roundabout and all the things that ended up being there, all the bicycle pedestrian connectivity. It was just something that moved from something here to something that is so much better. And I know that's what the community really wants to see there. I could read the resolution that the city passed and the change to the comprehensive plan that the city implemented. There's so many things that they've done just to encourage, can we do something similar to that? We don't want to stop the project because we know it needs to be addressed. There are capacity needs there. So it is something that needs to be addressed, but it's just not in the best place right now. It's very harmful to the city of Milton. And when you're a small community like Milton in a very big TPO, sometimes you feel like your voice doesn't carry much weight. When you're only one vote and there's so many votes, or when you're working with a large agency, it can seem it can seem overbearing almost. So I hope that comes across in a proactive, positive way, that I know the people that I work with in the community really want to work closely with FDOT. It's not something to be negative to FDOT. It's just to say that we'd really like to see something better done there. And we think there's still an opportunity to do that. So other than that one project, I'm very supportive.
We're talking about the project, Caroline Street to 87.
It's from Stewart Street 87 to Ward Basin Road. So it goes right through the downtown. And
It's on page 5,
Yeah, this is,
the second one from
it's
the bottom.
listed for preliminary engineering.
right, the PD&E has already moved forward, so a study was done, but there's alternatives that the city has really wanted in there that were never studied to the degree that before that were detailed study work.
The next, just to tell you, the next 5 years of the program, there is nothing beyond the PD&E funding
Except for
to
the
2027.
what is in 2023, the
The
engineering.
preliminary engineering.
Right, so
There isn't any funding in the 5-year program for right-of-way construction.
I think the hope would be that because there's such a need for funding across the board, again, we don't want to do away with addressing a project overall, but even those funds, the over $2 million for the engineering, is there a way that we could look at some of these options that the city has put forward that might save money overall compared to tearing up the downtown potentially for years, taking out one side of Highway 90 through the downtown. It's really more of an urban style design, suburban style design instead of a downtown design. And what we see being done across the state of Florida, and even within this own TPO, we're really not doing that anymore. We're not doing projects like that anymore. We want something that's more like what we're seeing in Pensacola and in other places. I'm not saying that they're exactly the same, but that's why I commended FDOT on other projects across the state and within its district, because we're seeing a lot of good things done, but we just feel like this is not one of them. And we feel like we're such a small community that our voice is not being heard.
I'd like to support learning on that as well. My family's from home. My grandfather's house was on Main Street in Monroe, right downtown. So as a child, I would walk down and, downtown Milton. A lot of people don't realize Milton was the 5th largest town, city in the state of Florida around the time of the Civil War. So there's a lot of history there.
Yeah.
And to go blast and just add an extra lane, the downtown's been annihilated over years, fires and things that weren't able to be controlled then. So what is left of the downtown area is small and it's quaint, but it's special to a lot of people. It's been there for a long time. There's a lot of history for our area. And, if we could just come up with an alternative, we do that. I live in the bar now. Like I said, I've lived, my family's been in San Jose County for quite some time. It's a very special place. And I support it.
Thank you, Michael.
Does the city put forward options to FDOT consider?
Well, what happened is several of the options, one was sort of a southern option, one was most recently a northern option was proposed, and it was to keep, it was add another bridge over the river, but to keep roads as 2-lane roads, but do some of these other capacity improvements that Vince was talking about. Because right now we basically have, and when the police chief did a study during peak period, morning and evening, when we get a lot of traffic back up through the downtown, was that 40% of the traffic is using one side road, and they're having to dogleg through the downtown. and that causes a tremendous backup.
Right on the Woodland Street.
Yes,
And then
right.
to Berry Hill.
So the one proposal, now it hasn't been studied, as a two-lane option, is to just build a new bridge that connects to Berry Hill, just for that 40% of local traffic. And Crestview did that recently. They studied, they're having all the problems with State Highway 85. So they hired a transportation consultant to look at it and said, you're not going to solve your problems in Crestview by continually adding lanes to 85. You have to look at moving some of your local traffic in alternative ways. It's sort of what I would say is, just like the downtown in Milton has a wonderful grid. So, I live in that area, and something happens on one street, I have 10 other ways to go. That's the way roads used to be designed before we got to cul-de-sacs and all these other things. And I see there are some options for us to do that. And that's what the city, now, they don't know all the answers to it. And it hasn't been approved by the city council, the Berry Hill route, but it was proposed by some citizens as something to consider. So I think there are some other options to consider there that might be less costly and can be done in a way that preserves sort of the community safety, the history, the residential areas. I mean, it's not easy to thread a needle through a haystack, and that's what you're doing through a downtown in a historic area like Milton.
Yeah, I go that way quite a bit. I live in War, but I go through Milton to go 65.
Right. Well, that's also,
You're talking rerouting a lot of traffic to Berry Hill, and now goes through downtown. That's
actually, I'm saying not to reroute traffic, I'm saying the 40% that's already using it, they have to leave Berry Hill and then move over to Highway 90 to be able to cross the river. And in doing so, they're backing up on Willing Street at peak periods at a very tight turn radius.
Oh, no, I understand.
And what I'm saying is,
You're gonna put a lot more traffic. More of a higher capacity road if you build another bridge. and connect that to the lane of Berry Hill.
well, what the proposal is,
Residential.
the proposal is to keep it as a two-lane street and to not have it as a truck route. The truck route would remain Highway 90 through downtown. So right now, all of those cars are on Berry Hill every morning and every afternoon.
They're doing it.
So it's not, I don't want anything destructive happening to Berry Hill Street. I live here. I don't want that. But that's why I'm saying, is there a way? I've seen other communities that have a business route, a truck route. Is there a way to do this and create, sort of like the traffic lights, to be creative, to honor the history? It is one of the oldest cities in the state of Florida. Can we do that? Can we find a way to make it work? I don't have all the answers, but I do know how destructive the current plan is to the downtown. And that's why I can't support it. Christy, are there any other, I know you mentioned that the next phase is the engineering phase, and there's nothing funded after that, but have other communities faced this similar sort of timing issue? And I know Pensacola did with the bridge, but it was earlier than this.
Vernon, that's way above me. I wrote down your comments.
Okay.
I wrote down your comments, but and you've been to the meetings and things you know.
And maybe if we want to break out and have a side discussion on this sometime in the future where, we can sit down with the map and communicate some of these ideas, flesh them out a little bit more, and just kind of like a focus session on this. Because I think it warrants it. I know there's a lot of people in the community that are concerned about that. I hope there's
That's a good idea, and I'd be very willing to do that. I think it would be another thing is people are very passionate about it on every side of the issue, and I understand that. You know, I know, you know, for people that are stuck in traffic from East Milton or Pace and they're just trying to get to work, it's not easy. You know, it's time and money. But as a small community and a very historic one, I'm just speaking on that behalf. And I'm just speaking as a citizen. I'm not speaking on behalf of the council. I do have council information with me because they modified the comprehensive plan. And as a TPO, we're supposed to really consider that. We're supposed to the greatest extent possible, consider local community comprehensive plans. And I just personally feel, you know, we need to do that. And I would love to work with Austin and the Regional Planning Council on this. I just don't think I know it's sensitive. I know a lot of people don't like it, but a lot of people do like it. So this is not something where you're going to please everyone, but.
And there's also other forces, you know, that we're working with tourism parking lot and trying to revitalize downtown Milton and give additional tourist revenue up to the middle of northern part of the county is another goal. And you know, it's kind of two opposing, you know, forces moving against one another. So I do think there's multiple things at play. And I don't know the level of detail that you all are aware of from the downtown these things, but I support everything you're saying. So.
Well, thank you.
Chairman, could I make a recommendation?
Yes.
Could we approve the resolution except for that project?
Absolutely.
Recommend
Yeah.
approval.
Absolutely.
Maybe approve it with the recommendation that we consider that project, but look at ways to work with the city of Milton to accommodate.
That's a wonderful way of putting it. Yeah, I would actually welcome, you know, however you want to move forward, because it's really our citizens committee is making a recommendation to the TPO, but I would love either approving it all without this in it and with some further consideration of working with the city of Milton, or approving it with that request to work with the city of Milton on other alternatives.
I'll make a motion to approve this, including that project, that we requested AFCOT work with the city of Milton to work out the resolution. The city of Milton on expansion, language, or revising that traffic.
Okay. We have that in a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. Michael, any other discussion? Not, all those in favor signify aye. Okay, and that passes. Thank you. Good discussion. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Christy. Okay, our next item, presentations and closure G. It's review of the draft Berry Hill Road West Corridor Management Plan. Jill? Great.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So this is for the draft Berry Hill West Corridor Management Plan. Ray, I'm hearing a bit of an echo.
1 second, Jill. Let me problem solve.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Miss Jill.
Alright, so the purpose of a corridor management plan is to identify operational operational and access management type of improvements. And this is for all modes of transportation. So we're talking not only vehicle roadway capacity for vehicles, but also bicycle and pedestrian movements. Next slide. So this is the length of project that we're talking about. On the western end is the 5 Points area at Temecula, Woodbine, Quintet, and Berry Hill. And then on the eastern end is right around the Laughlin Technical Center, just west of Anderson Lane. So we started this project earlier this year with the data collection and looking at the existing conditions. We held our first public workshop in the spring. After that workshop of hearing that initial feedback from the public, we developed conceptual study solutions. And then in the summer, we did workshop number 2. And now we have this draft plan available. You can see how, we took that input from the first public workshop and really made it to where, we were responding to what the public had to say. And some of the recommendations that came out of this plan are on the next few slides. We held all of our workshops at the Peace Community Center. We had a great turnout despite the coronavirus pandemic. And we also had Facebook Live videos during these meetings to also gather input via Facebook. Next slide. So some of the recommendations, this is the current school zone layout for Berry Hill Elementary School. And then on the next slide, you can see we're asking for to relocate the school pavement markings and school ahead signs, to install speeding fines double signs at both ends, and then add additional westbound school speed limit signs from the flashing signs closer to the school. Next slide. At Westminster Field Road, where our recommendation is to install the high visibility crosswalks as well as pedestrian signals. Next slide. We are also recommending adding paved shoulders for the entire length of the roadway. This is more of a short-term improvement. And these are existing photos that we saw. So more of a longer-term solution that we see for this road is adding in a 12-foot shared use path on the north side, and that's just one of the scenarios. Next slide. The second scenario would just be to fully widen Berry Hill Road 4 lanes, and you can see in this diagram it also includes 6-foot sidewalks on either side. We are asking for comments on the plan through November 24th, and you can send them to me or Mary Beth Washnock, and we'll be asking for adoption in December. And I just want to say I can't take full credit for this plan. Caitlin Serene, who's now with the city of Pensacola, she did most of the work on this project, as well as our public involvement team and Wiley Page and the Atkins team. I believe Wiley is in attendance. If you have any questions that I can't answer, he'll help you out. Oh, and Ray, if you wanted to speak on the public outreach efforts and how they influence the plan, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Hi, Chair and committee members. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. And I'm also pleased to tell you that we did have a successful round of outreach through those 2 workshops and the 2 online surveys that we hosted. We got 200 responses. Looking through the names of the participants, we did have some overlap with people that came back for that second round, but that's good. We got consistency and we got the people coming back to talk with us some more, which is what we want. On average, 68% of those participants did live near Berry Hill Road, on it, or use it for a majority of their travel. And overall, the numbers that matter most and will correlate with this, 73% of people rated pedestrian and bicycle safety at the top of their concern. It was the highest rated one among all 6. And then student safety and speeding were rated the second highest. And when I say second highest, it was pretty neck and neck between the 3 of them. And then when presented with scenarios that Jill outlined, 46% of those participants agreed in 4-laning the road and adding a shared use path on the north side. And then, let's see here. Lastly, I would love to stand up here and read you all of the public comments, but I can't because there were 81. There were quite a few people that had something to say, and I do urge you to go through and read them because there were really great voices present in those comments. So I'm open to any questions that you have, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions on the project? It's good to see it, and love seeing the bicycle pedestrian infrastructure that was recommended and included in several of the visuals that we did.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
One
Yes, sir.
quick question. So on that, one of the diagrams, it showed the bike lane right next to the driving lane. Now I know that DOT, like on 98, when they're widening that, they're looking at some considerations. I think they have a little more space over where the bike lane is not like right next to the cars going. Has that been explored a little bit more from a safety? Because I just know, like, if I want to go riding a bike, you know,
The blank stare in my eyes is not because I'm not listening, it's because I don't understand. I'm public involvement. So I'm going to hand it over to Wiley, and maybe he will be able to handle this.
Yes, thank you, good evening. And Mike, yes, there is a protected bike lane in the widening project.
Oh, it is
It
protected.
is protected
Okay.
bike lane.
Great.
Yeah, for exactly the reasons that you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Bike lane on 98, but I wouldn't ride a bike lane.
Yeah. No, the new 98. That's telling me is going to have supposedly have a
Protected.
Thank you for your question. It was a good one.
All right, thank you. All right, well, our other items are just information items that were in the packet. Most important for us would be our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 6th at 5:30. Location, okay, it will be here. So it's a different day of the week, Monday, the 6th, 5:30 here. So appreciate you all being here tonight. Good input and discussion on projects. Thank you, Christy and Vince, for all your input, and we'll see you in December.
I have one more question, if we can do it before you
Sure.
adjourn. I don't know if it's too late. And this is a FDOT question. In part, I'm just kind of educating myself, and maybe, and you might not have the answers to this. So with the historic rains we had over the last, not historic, but near historic, but you know, quite a bit of rainfall in the bar and a lot of the areas. I was driving up the new 87 a few times, up and down, and I noticed the large stormwater, you know, I don't know if they're dry ponds, some are wet ponds, some are dry ponds, and I would expect it at all times to see these full of water after the amount of rainfall we just received. But some of these ponds were bone dry. So what I'm just trying to understand, did they not meet the threshold capacity they needed to get the runoff to fill up those dry or wet ponds, or was there some other fault in the design of the ponds that the water didn't make it there, whether it drained through the sandy soil? I'm curious because we, you know, on these projects, the amount of land that's committed to storage capacity for the runoff is pretty massive, and it's got to be a big dollar amount at the end of the year for each project, you know, across the state when you look at it. So I'm just not sure if there's anybody going back and checking, are these stormwater ponds functioning as they were supposed to? You know, and a lot of times in private business, you'll have those kind of quality control or, you know, quality assessment where you go back and look and make sure everything's working right. And I was just surprised. I'm like, wow, all this rain and those ponds are bone dry. And what I can't understand is when will they ever be wet if they're not wet now? And if they're not wet, are they working?
And I can't answer that question.
I didn't
I'm a
think anybody-
planner, but I can ask the engineers and not.
I'm just curious why, you know, when if they're functioning as they're supposed to.
I think they were designed as dry ponds, but again, I'm not an engineer and I'll find out.
But they would, so then that would have been the time they would have had some water for some period of time. And that's why I'm just trying to, I'm working on another stormwater project, personal project, and, you know, and right now I'm being made to store this water and treat the water before it discharges off. And so I was, you know, I watch stormwater ponds now all the time. So this is just a run where I'm going around looking and I'm like, wait, that stormwater pond's dry and it
sitting dry right now. Why is that?
Right.
So, and I'm not, yeah,
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Mike.
yeah, that's my guess, is that if they didn't even make it to the pond. I don't know.
Yeah, and some of them, I know, it's an interesting point because either being designed as a wet holding stormwater pond or one that's a dry pond, but still you would expect to see during these huge events that there would be some storage in them.
Right. If they're not used now, I don't think they'll.
Yeah. All right, very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have 3 things I want to mention, some items that are in front of you on the table. The first is Mobility Week. There's a flyer about that. It's coming up very soon. And obviously it promotes multi-modes and bicycle, pedestrian type travel. The other thing is your long-range transportation plan, the fold-out document, it should be at your place. If you don't have one, let us know. We have some extras out front. And it's kind of the big culmination of our LRTP. It's the final document that is very usable, and it has a map. If you fold it out, you see all the projects that are in the needs and cost feasible plans. And then finally, our Transportation Symposium flyer is at your place. That is coming up very soon. We didn't think we were going to get to have it, and then we did, and so we're having to work pretty fast to get ready for that. That is November the 4th and 5th. It will be at the Hilton Sandestin, and I believe the registration is 200 and, can anybody tell me, 50? Okay, 250, but the rooms are $100 a night, actually $98 a night. So that's a really good deal at that hotel. So if you wanted to get some more information about transportation and wanted to go relax at the Hilton in Sandestin, that would be a great opportunity. That's all I
Really?
have.
Thank you, Bernadette. It is really a great training opportunity. I've been before and some excellent presentations. I've really learned a lot when I've been able to attend. On this, it says smart cities, smart regions. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we have a lot of panels on the 2 days or day and a half. And Smart Cities is basically using all the tools that we have for complete streets and some of the things like Vance was talking about, where you have signals talking to each other and that sort of thing. It's just a multitude of components into transportation planning.
Okay. Thank you, Maribeth. Anything else? Did we leave out anything? All right. Well, thank you all for being here tonight, and we'll see you in December. All right.
I fixed this slide on the SharePoint one. And I fixed the date part too. I don't know why I went with.
I was like, whose mic is on? Oh my God.
Of course it is. That's fine. I feel like we need to have like a disclaimer before we start meeting. So it's like, please don't forget to use your mic so that our home audience can hear
You're
you.
fine, you're good. Oh, wrong one. That's a good one.
This is just so. And his parents are being so.
I know. So fishy about it.
Like, Bill, we don't know anything. Our son's disappeared, and like his girlfriend died. Like,
And could have been pregnant with our grandchild, and like.
you wonder if it was like a rage thing, because like I have seen a lot of things that said that he had like real anger issues.